Okay, hi everybody. We're going to get started here in just a quick second. Today's March 23rd, Monday. Once again, if you are driving, please shut this off, and it is recorded, and to be on here on the Facebook page as well as on our YouTube page. All the information here, but we'll give just a quick second, for some, people to get logged on here. Thanks a lot for joining us. Can everybody hear me okay? It's a little bit different setup, so yeah, just let me know if you can't hear me. Fred, how are you? David Cliff, thanks for joining. Hi Cheryl. Just because I made fun of you, it doesn't mean you can make fun of me. Hi Lucian. Veronica Martinez, hi from Phoenix. You're in San Antonio. Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. So once again, it is a COVID Live or Facebook Live, just to give updates, on the latest COVID-19 situations. Hold on a second here. Sorry, I'm trying to get the updates going here. Oh, okay. Okay, so, yeah, we went too far. Give me just a second here. All right, sorry, technical difficulties here. Okay, so this is basic FYIs, to start out with first. Check your CDL for any expirations. Check your CDL, check your TWIC card. Obviously clearance, are good for 10 years. But, check the expiration, for any of your endorsements, your hazmat, your TWIC card, your CDL, your DOT physical. In this environment, things may just take a lot longer than normal, to get, renewals and so forth. Various state agencies, and everything are, I know the ATA is working, to get, extensions on expirations and so forth. And a few states have already got that. So, but don't put yourself at risk. Don't put your job at risk. Don't put your CDL or endorsements and that kind of stuff at risk. I would recommend give yourself at least 6 months. For example, the TWIC and your hazmat, it starts with the TSA as a fingerprint background check. Well, if that takes 3 or 4 months, because the various government agencies are shut down before it gets to the DMV, and then it takes another month or two at the DMV, we could easily be talking 4 or 5 months. For a process that can normally be taken care of in 4 or 5 weeks. So don't take any chances. If you're coming on 6 months on expiration on any of those things, we strongly encourage you to start working on them, right now, type of thing. We've got a link on here for the president's coronavirus, guidelines, for America. It's a fairly quick read. Most of it's still the same stuff that we've been talking about for the last week and a half. CDC and WHO, recommendations on social distancing, self-isolation when you can, and so forth. Mostly, it's common sense, type stuff. The list of states that are under a some form of stay at home or a lockdown status is growing. Okay, right now I think it's 8 states. When you're working, for the most part, you're going to be exempt from those kind of stay at home policies and we're critical business and keep working. It's when you go on home time and your families, obviously, in those states that are going to be most, affected. It may be that the entire country, starts at some sort of stay-at-home, type, policies. But for right now, I think it's 8 states that are. And so, talk it over with your families, and when you do home time in those states, California, Louisiana, Illinois, Ohio, New Jersey, Massachusetts, there's a few other states, then that's probably when you're going to be impacted the most here. Okay, so I think that's it for the FYIs. Moving on to the next slide. Pennsylvania, rest area closures was a big deal for a while. I think for the most part, other states have, made sure that they kept the rest areas open. Obviously, the buildings themselves may be closed, but parking should at least be available. My understanding is that the Turnpike is open, if not all of their rest areas, but most of them, including the restrooms, indoor restrooms, and food service, are expanding, again. So again, the communication, from drivers and the ATA and various organizations, is heard. And so we have to continue to make sure that we keep our supply chain and our driver force, available and active. So that's the latest we're hearing from the Pennsylvania road stops. Hold on, let me see what the next one is here. Oh, so the next one is customer updates. Yorktown Naval Base has let us know that that they're going to be running on a skeleton crew for the time being. They're still taking shipments, but it's by appointment only. So if you're sent in to deliver at Yorktown, you should be getting a delivery time. If you don't, then ask your DM about that. But without that delivery time, things could certainly be delayed there. The second piece that I want to share with you is something that came up this weekend. Communication. We talked about the importance of communication, and we had a situation where a driver went into a customer, and the customer wanted them to fill out this form, just asking about their health questionnaire, pretty basic form that most locations, including us, are asking drivers to do. Well, our driver, is trying to be responsible and just share, just ask them, hey, let me fill this out to my truck, right now, I don't know if you're sick, and just want to make sure that we don't contaminate each other. But somehow, that was construed as concern that our driver was sick, okay, and that created a lot of concern, up the chain with the customer. Apparently, he was able to pick up everything just fine, but then when the customer, when the whoever checked him in, was sharing that experience with others, it turned into a bad game of telephone or something, where all of a sudden our driver was potentially showing symptoms and going to infect others. So again, in this environment, just remember, our customers are concerned. Everybody come in contact with concern. Just communicate clearly. Cheryl and I were talking earlier, and it should probably be like the airport. Just don't joke around about bombs. Don't joke around about being sick. You just don't know if it's going to be misconstrued. And this happened to a customer, and we're going to get everything squared away. But if you're trying to get something to eat and you make a comment that gets misconstrued, perhaps they don't allow you to get your food or something like that. So just be aware, if, what we communicate and how, and just do it as as clearly as possible, is the guidance there. Any questions or comments, from anybody, please send them in. Okay, let me look to see what the next one is here. Oh, yeah. As far as we're aware, Love's, Flying J, Petros, that are all still open. Restrooms are still open. Showers are still available. And once again, just keep in mind that hours may be affected, and so forth. But obviously we hope this isn't the new normal. But things, appear in the last 3 or 4 days to have kind of normalized, for this coronavirus environment that we're in. So not a whole lot of changes to report there. Yeah, it's just kind of an update again on food and restaurants, availability. If for some reason or some situation you find that you are having a difficult time, getting, food services, contact us, let us know, and, and we'll help with whatever resources we have, whatever contacts, that we can make, so on and so forth. Most restaurants are trying to stay open. Obviously, they can't do in-seat dining. And so there is a lot of curbside, services, that are being offered, where they'll come out and take your credit card and plastic bag or whatever, and you can pay for it and they'll bring you your food. Just keep in mind, that a lot of these parking areas are not designed, for our big trucks. And so even if they're designed for delivery trucks, a lot of times those delivery trucks are day cabs, shorter wheelbase, 48 foot trailers and that kind of stuff, and we're obviously bigger. So just make sure that you don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to get stuck at somebody's parking lot, type of thing. And then just keep in mind that if you've got placards and that kind of stuff, that could cause concerns to the general public if they see that. So again, we don't want to create undue anxiety, for the public, but at the same time, for sure, we want to make sure that you guys are, getting food, services, and that kind of stuff, met. Anyway, that's all I have to share. I thought I took the slide off about the coronavirus, Dallas Cowboys, but apparently I did, but, it's an oldie but goodie, there. Any questions, comments, or anything like that, please email them in, please send them in to us. And we'll continue to answer, any and all questions, that we have. Again, things seem to be kind of, stabilizing out, a little bit, or at least the reaction, to the coronavirus. So we don't want to bore you with, redundant information and details, if nothing's really changed. So our next scheduled Facebook Live will be next Wednesday, or this Wednesday, 4 o'clock Joplin time. Once again, it'll probably be Cheryl. She's more popular than I am, and she has better information. And so, but of course, if anything changes, in the meantime, then we'll get that information out to you ASAP. Just remember, as you go through these lockdowns and shelter at home locations or whatever, while you're working, while you're in the truck, we're critical services. We've been designated, critical business. And so, we're allowed to continue to go out and do what we need to do. So, any questions or comments or anything like that? Yeah, Brandy Cooper shared there's a Facebook page called Meals for 18 Wheels that has been helping food services. Great, take a look at that. Hopefully that'll be a good resource. So anyway, any other questions or comments, just email them to Cheryl or I, and we'll get them addressed. We really appreciate you. This may have been a long weekend and a puzzling weekend, for many of you. We appreciate the work that you're doing. We appreciate the leadership and, and the calmness that you guys project, with our customers and, to the general public. And hopefully, we'll get through this, pretty well. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you on Wednesday.